A rich source of inspiration in my own prayer life has been meditating with the wounds of Christ, and in particular 13th and 14th century medieval texts that or writings, visionary writings about these wounds. Medieval Christians, in particular during this period of time, had a very intense, quite emotional devotion to these wounds of Christ. They saw them as these kind of royal insignia testifying to the depth of God's love, as floodgates of Christ's lifeblood, as portals into the mysteries of heaven. So this medieval imagination went many places that were quite meaningful to the church at that time with this devotion to Christ's wounds. So as I've prayed with these texts, with my own woundedness, with the wounds that I have perceived in the church, it strikes me that there's a kind of a connection or a conversation perhaps to be had between these 5 marks of mission and the 5 wounds of Christ that has to do with our legibility, our recognizability to the world as Christians, in a world in which I think things of the church, of Christianity, of the way of Christ, are increasingly less legible. Because it's really these wounds that are the ways that the church is recognized as the body of Christ, and the wounds on the risen and ascended Christ are the ways that the disciples recognize this is Jesus, this is the Jesus we knew before his death and resurrection. So one particular visual image, I'm often a visual prayer, that I find fascinating and relevant to this conversation is called the Arma Christi, or the arms of Christ, the coat of arms of Christ. In a way, so in medieval life, a coat of arms would have been a clear visual means of recognizing a person. So what house they belonged to, what family they belonged to, certain essential information about this person, particularly on a battlefield or at a medieval tournament. So you see on this shield, we have in this the hands of Christ. There's the name of Christ here, the feet of Christ, a chalice, and into that chalice flows the lifeblood of Christ from his wounded sacred heart. So we might think about what a contemporary coat of arms of a Christian might look like. If we think about these marks of mission, how might the marks of mission be represented on a coat of arms to help us to be recognizable, legible to the world as Christians? And you might think about, of all of these marks of mission, likely one of them captivates you or captures your heart in a particular way. So you might think about which of these marks of mission is closest to your own wounded sacred heart.